it is no secret that a lot of ductwork and or the equipment itself, HVAC equipment, is not sized properly. A lot of old rule of thumb type rules are being used across the board in our industry. And our whole goal with this video, among others, is to try to let you know what the standard is. If we were to say there's a right and wrong way of doing things, here's the right way. Here's the standard, if you will. There's no more rule of thumbs. Let's do it right. How do we size the filter grill and or filter for that return duct? So we were able to catch up with JC Canfield once again. Thank you to JC once again for your time and efforts. Let's get to it. How do we properly size this filter and filter grill? I have always been told, in fact, I'm pretty sure I've seen YouTube videos where guys have said you basically want to do 200 square inches of surface area for your return grill and or filter per ton. Does that sound right, or where did that come from?
That is a code requirement of the filter grill for heating only.
Okay. All right. So it wasn't pulled out of thin air, so that's good to know.
It wasn't. That's the minimum. Remember, minimum code requirement for return air surface area for a heat only system. It's out of the National Code Book.
So if somebody catches this video, they want to know how to do it right. How do we do it right?
The one thing that you really need to understand about filters is they all have a different amount of restriction depending on what you want to do filtration wise, whether you want a low MERV filter or a high MERV filter or a clean air delivery rate type filter, because the industry hasn't really settled in on a standard. So filter manufacturers can be kind of willy-nilly about how they report their data. It gets kind of tough. So what I did when I first started really looking into it, I decided that, well, I'm going to base everything that I design with on a basic fiberglass filter. So this is just in case a customer wants to use a filter grill and a filter box. I would do length times width times 2. Okay, that's the first thing that I was taught. That's just your filter size. And then I learned from the Selkirk, I think it was, the grill book, about what their filter grill does. And there's a chart available, but it's length times width divided by 144 times 288. And that's with a fiberglass filter, and that's how much CFM you get out of a filter grill with a standard fiberglass filter in it. Because I also called Selkirk and AirMate and I asked them, what filter do you guys design this based on? This? Oh, that's just a standard hog hair or fiberglass filter, not a pleated filter, not a higher MERV filter, nothing like that. We use a Glassfoss or Honeywell filter here, or a Aeroseal filter. Aeroseal is probably, they make the best filters as well as they report their data in a way heating and air conditioning guys can understand it. And so I like using Honeywell, Glassfoss, and Aeroseal filters. Those are the 3 best brands that I've found to use. And they don't sponsor this or anything like that. But so if you take that length times width divided by 144 times 288, and you say it's a 14 by 30 filter. So you're going to get to 840 CFM. Okay, so that's how many CFM you can get through a 14 by 30 filter grill with a standard fiberglass filter. Then I discovered that, say, a MERV 10 pleated filter was basically 20% less efficient. So I go length times width divided by 144 times 0.8 times 288. And then that would get you, it's basically 20% less CFM.
Say that one again. Length times width
divided by 144 times 0.8 times 288. So what I did was I went through and I would look at the filter that I wanted to choose for the customer, and then I would try to match that up to a percentage of the difference between the fiberglass filter and the filter that the customer wanted. The first thing when you decide what filter a customer is going to use, you need to know what they want out of the filtration system in their home. And then you need to go through the MERV ratings, and then you also need to go through, clean air delivery rates. If they say they want a perfect or clean effects or any of the electronic air cleaners out there. In some cases, like on a 5-ton, you might need 2 clean effects on the side of your furnace. Or you may need up to 4 filter grills that are 14 by 30 if they want to use a 4-inch 14 by 30 filter that goes in the filter grill. The FC40R filter, it's an amazing product from Honeywell.
A lot of contractors, they don't even know what filter the homeowner is going to be using because perhaps the future homeowner has not even bought the home yet. It's new construction or something of the sort. So in those cases, would you use the original length times width divided by 144 times 288, or would you err on the side of caution and use one of these other formulas?
I would get a letter or some set of direction on what filter the builder wants for the home, and I would design that way, because you got to protect yourself against a future liability. Especially, I can remember a case where there was a 3-ton system, and the system was designed for exactly 3 tons of nominal air for its 1200 CFM, and then we put in the exact right size filters and the exact right CFM for 1200 CFM. And the customer comes in, they decided for their new home, they wanted to only use a certain pleated filter that I won't mention, but it's very restrictive. And that house and that ductwork and the plenum, everything filled up full of some kind of microbial growth that was never tested and proven to be anything other than microbial growth that we noticed. But they tried to sue us, and like I was able to go back and say, hey, this builder wanted these filters and this filter size. You came in and you changed the filter, and I went through all of these calculations and the duct calculations with them, and I showed them, and I was able to show them with our field piece probes the difference between the filters that they were running and the filters that they were designed with, and then their lawyer wouldn't even take the case anymore. So
nice. So final thoughts?
Just be careful, and then really talk to your homeowner when you about what filter they want. If you need direction on how to size for a certain filter, I've got a set of calculations for almost every brand, or I can even make one that'll get you to the right CFM number for the amount of CFM the house needs or the system needs.
And we'll put a link down in the description of this video on how they can get into contact with you, leave their information, and you do load calculations, you do all kinds of things to help folks. So
yep, I do.
So that's it in a nutshell. How do we size that filter grill? Now we know how to size the return duct. If you didn't catch that video, I'll put a link to that down in the description of this video. And now with this video, we now know how to size the filter grill with that return duct. Again, we're going to do more videos in the future. If you're curious what my favorite air filter is, I'll put a link to that down in the video description. If you like this video, I think you'll like this one even more. It's where I give you some advice on how to make more money in our trade. Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time.